Is the Air Force in serious decline? There's an article about this.
Spoiler alert. In September, the United States Air Force celebrated another birthday. At age 76, it is in bad shape. Despite lowering qualification standards, it cannot attract enough recruits to fill its ranks. The size and serviceability of its combat aircraft are at all-time lows. Truncated training has weakened pilot readiness. In sum, the Air Force today would struggle to execute another Desert Storm, much less take on a pure adversary like China. Even more distressing, the service's leaders show no interest in pulling out of that downward spiral. Let's start with a few facts. I'm going to scroll down to this piece. At the height of the Cold War, the Air Force had 4,468 fighter and 331 bomber aircraft in its total force inventory. Roughly 8 out of 10 were mission capable. Today, it has just 1,932 fighter and 140 bomber aircraft. On any given day, only 6 of every 10 are fit to fly combat missions.
Hey, go back. Sorry, I don't mean to stop you, but he makes a point here that I very much disagree with.
Which one?
It says every Air Force captain without legal or ethical issues has been promoted to major since 2017, which means even poor performers graduate and advance. Accessions, training, and promotion standards are an all-time low, which places the big picture, the service's ability to execute its wartime mission, into jeopardy. So I won't say I disagree with the whole thing. I disagree. So the washout rate, yeah, we need to have standards. We need to do that. But promotion, I disagree with that. In fact, I don't know about the numbers about promoted to major, because I think now with SOS and stuff, the problem is the focus on how you get promoted is so out of whack. It should be automatic. It should be based on your job performance. It should not be based on, because what's the alternative, right? If he's saying that everyone without legal or ethical issues has been promoted to major, what do you mean poor performers and low standards? Because the Air Force can't make up its mind as far as how you promote to 05, because sometimes it used to be a master's degree. Sometimes it used to be PME and a master's degree, or just PME. Like they keep screening things, moving stuff around, and none of that has anything to do with leading men and women into war. It is irrelevant. But yet we focus on these stupid metrics, and anyway, go back to the article. I'm sorry, I just saw that and I'm like, yeah. I do agree though, the accessions as far as the training pipeline, the standards need to be held.
They were looking at sorties and hours. In the Cold War, it was 160 sorties, 200 hours a year. In 2022, Air Force fighter pilots averaged 74 sorties, 129 hours a year. Also averaged less than 2 or 3 missions. Simulator sorties are supposedly required to receive each month. And then they mentioned the Lasseter report, which was a 1923 study, which documented the problems in what was then the Army Air Force. And just recently, there was a paper called Redefine Readiness or Lose, which said essentially the same things. So history may not repeat itself, but it rhymes a lot.
Doug, I missed it. That article was written by a weapons school guy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Sure. Yeah. That I read that article and he pretty much nailed it. I'm just shocked that, we used to make fun of the North Korean pilots only getting 100 hours a year. And now here we are knocking on it. I was having a conversation with a guy who flies Super Hornets right now in Lemoore, and they don't fly. I got 850 hours my first tour. That was 3 years. These guys who are getting, I did the math, it's under 400 hours in a 3-year tour. I can't remember the wickets, but you have to have so many hours just to be like a flight lead, right? A section lead, stuff like that. And I remember shortly after leaving my, after becoming IP, things started to slow down. And I remember guys trying to get in the blues, some of them needed waivers because they didn't have the required flight time to get in. And it's bad. It's bad across the board. We already talked about poor leadership, and then when you compound it with lack of ability to fly, train, learn your craft. And guys and gals looking and wondering, like, what are we doing here? And it's really bad for morale. I mean, we had a saying in the Navy. It's like, man, squadrons, it's not flying is a painful place to be, because you'll still have a 12-hour day. They'll find a way to fill that flight schedule with no flights, but just, meetings, and we need to have training every day, I mean, just like, which is fine. You need that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're a Navy or Air Force fighter pilot, your craft, the American taxpayer pays you to be, a well-trained pilot in whatever airplane that is. And that's not happening.
I think that's my what I'm getting at when, I was kind of anchored on the whole, well, it's automatic promotion to major. It should be because it should be tough to fly the jet, because you should have high standards in the aircraft, and those high standards in the aircraft should keep you at the top of your game. You should be flying a lot. You should have a lot of jets to fly. And that's the other part too, Gonky. I mean, we've had, so if you take out the F-35, which there aren't a lot of, and you take out the F-22, which especially not a lot of those, we have an old fleet of aircraft. The dudes that were flying in the 80s, and even to some, a lot in the 70s and stuff. I mean, dude, they were getting rid of aircraft at like 6 years, 8 years, 6 to 9 years, and going to something new, not 30.
Well, the other thing is, dude, those airplanes that we have from the 80s that we're still flying, we've spent 20 years blowing holes in the sand, just beating the crap out of them. I mean,
yes. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So we're not flying. We shut down assembly lines. We're not flying new jets and giving these war fighters, hey, here's our latest and greatest. Be proud that we're flying new stuff, not hand-me-down stuff. We're going out and we're giving you the latest technology. Now, granted, technology is still advancing. There's still a lot of stuff, that obviously we don't know about that they're getting, but you can't deny the fact that we're flying a lot of old airframes. And old airframes, it was the same thing with the F-22, right? The older block. I mean, cold day and the whole ramp is like a war zone because nobody can get cranked. And that's what happens when you don't keep producing. When you give in to the idea that it takes 20 years to get a new aircraft up and running. I mean, holy crap, dude. You should be able to do it in 5. Like, from clean sheet design to hitting the first flight line with the first delivery, you should be able to do it in 5 years. And give them new advanced equipment, because it goes back to the pride and purpose. I mean, if you can never fly because it's always broken.
Yeah. So the Navy had a little bit of a different problem. So, the leaders 20 years, 30 years ago, they did do a good thing by putting their eggs in the Super Hornet basket, in my opinion. I mean, you can argue all day, like, it could be faster, more thrust.
But it's old now.
It is old now, but they're still making it. So,
are we buying it?
Well, what I'm saying is, for the past 20 years, because I flew brand new Super Hornets as a RAG IP, and those were jets that were going into the fleet replacing old. But the problem the Navy had was they didn't have, like, for a long time, like, hey, this squadron's going on deployment. They took all the AT FLIRs, they took all the, so, like, they took all the flying money, right? So yeah, you're at home with your brand new jet, but there's no money for you to fly. There's no AT FLIRs for you to train, right? So I mean, it's the same problem. Just, it's a lack of resources. I think we're both. It's the same thing. It's a lack of resources, whether it's the airplane or the money to fly it, right?
Yeah, but also these airplanes are, I mean, they're worn out.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, dude, if you've got, like, I remember a 12-turn 10. And we didn't have enough pilots to fly that much. We're ops canceling because we're like, we can't fly all of this. Versus a 4-turn 2. So, 4 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and no spare. And, love
or a 1-turn 1.
Yeah. Or 1v0 times, 1 turn 1 turn 1.
Yeah.
Dude, that's not, it's not good for training because you don't have the large force exercise. You're not getting enough airplanes up. You're not filling the squares. And that's part of we're not getting enough flying hours to successfully and safely accomplish the mission. And that goes back to are we focused on the right things?
That's leadership.
Kill people and break their things. That's all your whole job in life. Kill people and break their things. Find new ways to do that if you can, but kill people and break their things. Fly, fight, and win. That's the way it's always been, or it should be. Well, that's the way it should be.
That's right. You're absolutely right, dude. 100%.
Wombat, you're quiet. Why?
He agrees.
It's ridiculous, man. Like, we've ruined such a good thing. I mean, have you ever think back to flight school? And I would challenge anybody that's on the chat or that's in flight school right now, right? Different generation completely. Did any of the people that you knew, any of your bros, not want to fly? Everybody wanted to fly. Like, they loved it. That's why they joined. That's why they became pilots in the military. It didn't matter. I mean, to some degree, everybody wanted to fly fighters or whatever, but like, it didn't matter. Like, they just wanted to fly, like get airborne and fly and learn their craft. And now you've got guys that are flying 125 hours a year. Like,
That's
gee, I wonder.
current.
But Wombat, we're going to give them $600,000. Yeah, and they just have to sign their life away for another decade plus, and it's going to ruin more families, more divorces. Their kids aren't going to know them. But I don't know why this isn't fixing the problem. And it's like, 'cause you're not even letting them do the damn job they signed up to do. And the leadership is so dumb that they can't see that, because the people that get promoted, for the most part, and again, Mover, I'm not saying your buddies that you named, because we all have those one-offs. The problem is when we joined, the one-offs were the ones that were poor leaders. And now the one-offs are the ones you brought up. And the typical leader in the military now, never wanted to fly. They just wanted to climb the ladder. And now they're at the top of the ladder, and they just go back to what they knew. And they're like, man, the jet's uncomfortable. Like, they want me to do things in it. I got to pull G's. It's sweaty. My office is air conditioned. There's a masseuse, right? Like, so that's the problem, is you have people leading a job that they never wanted to do in the first place. They used it as a stepping stone to get to their status of where they're at. And you can't take, and I've said this before, but you can't take aviators. I wouldn't even put this as fighter pilots, although it's obviously a little bit more. But aviators in the military, you can't treat them any different than you could treat Navy SEALs. You take a group of Navy SEALs, you put them through buds, right? And then you go, you know what? Go sit on the couch. How long do you think it's going to take before they just tear that place down? They were trained to be a fighting element. I don't care what aircraft you're in. They were trained to do a mission and to go out there and do it to the best of their ability. And you tell them to go sit down and wait because we don't have the flight hours. The jets are broken. Well, we got to do this sensitivity training. I mean, massages don't happen themselves. So now you've got to make sure you're treating the masseuse right. Because if we say the wrong thing, we might offend the enemy that our job is to blow their stuff up and break their things. It's all wrong. It's completely wrong. And the only way it's going to get right is if people stop being afraid of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. But that can't happen now because you have such a big military structure that you say the wrong thing and you're done. So the person moves out and they go become an airline pilot because they're like, screw this, there's more money over there. Like, I'll laugh at your $600K in 12 years. See you later. Or they go be a lawyer, or they go be, that's the thing is, did you ever notice that pilots in the military don't just go be pilots somewhere else? And even the ones that do, and they go to the airlines, they always have something else. Like, they're not stupid people. They're hardworking people, but you have throttled them so badly in the mission that that's all they wanted to do in flight school. But people forget that.
Yep.
So fix your leadership. And that doesn't get fixed by throwing money at it. It gets fixed by people above them holding them accountable. They're not doing it.
Yep.
But they'll hold you accountable if you fart wrong in the plane. Oh boy. You're done, man. Right?
Yes.
But you can have a leader that's higher up and is completely unethical and is all about their status and is using that in their own thing, right? No, he's fine. It's fine. He's made that level. He's earned it. I've heard that. CAG has earned his right to be that way. Oh, CAG has
Have
earned his
you ever
right.
heard that? Yeah.
You're telling me CAG has earned his right to have the female airman bring all his meals to his stateroom? That's okay. That's interesting. That's kind of counterintuitive to what I learned in the military, but what do I know? You see my point? That's that systemic leadership. Fix that, fix the problem.